Hello everybody, I'm LinguaPhiliax, and I'm bi.
Gettin by. I'm getting by.
Lingual. And my native language is English. Many other English speakers think this is weird for some reason, and are often confused as to why I learn other languages when I could apparently just stick to one. And if you are a monolingual English speaker who thinks that's a reasonable opinion, I have just one thing to say to you. You are a weirdo. No, seriously, most people around the world speak more than one language, which means if you don't know any other languages, then you are the weird one. So the question then is, why is that? Sorry, to clarify, I'm not asking why most people are bilingual. There are obvious benefits to speaking more than one language. You're able to build connections with people from many different walks of life. Learning new terminology makes you reflect on and reinterpret your own thoughts, emotions, and ideas. You gain access to all sorts of different experiences, stories, and other cultural contexts that you wouldn't have access to any other way. You're able to see the world in a broader scope and navigate the world better as a result. You learn how to be empathetic and how to listen to people rather than assuming you're always right, which is why you should definitely leave your comments down below. And it's also a massive mental workout. It helps sharpen your critical thinking skills, and it's just healthy for your mind to explore all of these things I just mentioned. No, the question isn't why is everybody else bilingual? The question you should be asking is, why are you monolingual? Please listen to all of the stuff I have to say here very carefully, and tell me if any of it feels familiar to you. If your native language is English, more likely is not that you grew up only hearing English around you. Generally, your parents only know English as well, as do your grandparents, your siblings, your cousins, and nobody in your family knows any other language. You went to a school where everyone else speaks English, and the only compulsory language taught at your school is English. You're also constantly taught to make your English better, to use proper grammar and proper spelling in your homework, and if you don't do it right, then you'll get bad grades. When you go to the shops, all the products are in English, and all the signs and the shop names are in English as well. You turn on the TV and everything is in English. You turn on the radio and everything's in English. You go on the internet and everything online is in English. It's all so easy. You don't need to learn any other languages, you're doing fine with just one. It's incredible that you're able to live in such a big country where only one language is spoken. Except, here's the thing. Everything about that monolingual life you grew up living was a lie. You didn't grow up hearing only English, you've heard other languages before, you were just taught to ignore them. Your family might only speak English to you, but that doesn't mean they don't know any others. And if they do know another language, the question then is, why did they choose English over the other one? Not everyone at your school speaks English either. There are foreign and exchange students and multicultural students too. The English language is only compulsory at school because it was chosen to be, while the other languages are considered electives, if your school even teaches them. Additionally, all those grammar and spelling errors you got bad grades on don't actually matter once you're speaking with your friends or texting someone online. The shops are only in English because you choose to go to the English ones, and not all the products are in English either. Again, you were just told to ignore the ones that weren't. Not everything on TV is in English, you just choose to watch the English channels. Not everything on the radio is in English, you just choose to listen to English radio stations. And I feel like this kinda goes without saying, but not everything on the internet is in English either. That should be fucking obvious, but you probably didn't notice how weird that statement was when I said it. In fact, the English language itself technically isn't even just one language, it's a hybrid language of Middle English, Norman French, and Ancient Greek with a sprinkling of loanwords from hundreds of different language groups. There's so many words in the English language that will only make sense if you know the original languages where the words come from. The reason you think that monolingualism is normal is because you're stuck in a monolingual comfort bubble, and you were never given the appropriate tools you need to break yourself out of it. Did you ever stop to think why your country is so big? Why so many people in such a large area only use one language? Not to mention why there's more than one country where English is the dominant language across several different continents. That's not normal. And while that may make life easy for you, it does not make it easy for those people who do not speak English as a first language living in any of those countries. For those kinds of people, bilingualism is not only normal, but it's actually a matter of survival, because not knowing English in a country where everyone is expected to would put them at a significant disadvantage. But even for those of us who do have the privilege to live comfortable lives with only one language, in many other ways we are also at a disadvantage because of it. For starters, you're essentially stuck inside a cultural echo chamber. Everyone around you is expected to all speak and act a certain way, and anyone who doesn't act that way is expected to conform. And if you didn't notice this until now, then it's probably because nobody expected you to conform to anything, because they think you're normal, which puts you in a privileged position. And because you're so used to having things translated for you, you're more likely to place the responsibility of communication onto other people rather than making your own listening and communication skills better. Because of your privileged position, you're more likely to develop an inflated cultural ego, thinking that this is the way the whole world is. As a result of that, you may ignore other people's needs and perspectives. You may not take the time to really think about the things you say and do because you don't really pay attention to anyone or anything as well as you should. You then end up doing stupid things as a result of not listening, which will either make you more self-conscious or more stubborn. You're then more likely to be emotionally swayed by colourful language and are a lot less likely to use critical thinking. You're also less likely to think objectively or abstractly about things as a monolingual. You can get too hung up over things that don't actually matter.
Puna it is then. Anyone for Puna?
Oh, darling, do stop saying Puna. Can't we think of a less smelly name for it?
Or completely overlook things that do matter without understanding why. Being stuck inside an echo chamber also leads you to develop outgroup homogeneity biases. You start seeing different groups outside of your own as singular monolithic things. You may end up stereotyping, stigmatizing, or fetishizing different languages and dialects without understanding why it's harmful. You may also become mistrusting of non-English speakers, believing they have bad intentions whenever they're not speaking English with you, like they're keeping you out of the loop or something. And their differing cultural behaviours may appear to you as rude or mean or just bad and wrong. And because you've never had your linguistic identity challenged, you may not understand how a person's language is intrinsically tied to their identity. So you may end up thinking that other languages are just not that important. You may see another language as merely a tool to get a job and to further your career, rather than as a way to connect with people on a deeper level. So why shouldn't those damn foreigners learn English already? And when you do find your career and become a leader or a teacher or whatever, you may also instill these regressive behaviours into the people who listen to you and who work for you, thus establishing this status quo of the monolingual mindset, creating an unending oppressive cycle. In fact, this has already happened. The only reason that English and other world languages are so powerful is because we expect everyone else to conform to them. Because that's the thing. Monolingualism is a symptom of privilege, of unequal power, and it can only exist through a culture of conformity and linguistic oppression. Whoa, okay mate, no need to get so political right now. Oh, I'm sorry, except I'm not, because everything about language is political. That's another thing you may not be aware of too. Language is an inherently political thing, and it would be foolish to go about using your language without understanding how it affects you, the people around you, and society as a whole. But if you don't know how other languages work, how can you possibly fully understand how your own language affects everyone else? Speaking only one language means that you will only ever see a fraction of all things, and you will only ever see them through a particular lens, making bilingualism by far the more beneficial option, not just for your own sake, but for everyone. So, with all of that stuff being considered, the way I see it, you now have a choice. You can either choose to remain inside your monolingual comfort bubble in blissful ignorance, or you can choose to step outside and navigate a whole new bunch of worlds and experiences that, until recently, were locked away from you. Now, I'm not saying the latter will be easy. Only foolish people say that learning another language is super easy and we promise you'll be able to master it in just 7 days. Buy our book for just $14.99. No. Learning takes effort and patience. There is no lazy way out of this. If you want to learn another language, you need to be committed. So then, you may be wondering, where do you go from here? If you've never learned a language before, how do you even start? What does the language learning journey look like? What sorts of things should you know for the road ahead? Don't worry, I'll get back to you about that in another video, I promise. But in any case, my personal experience with learning languages has taught me that the first step to take is to just start listening. And that is why I always finish my videos by saying, thank you all for listening, and we'll speak again next time.